Moving from the Bond villains in Dubai to Bond villains here at home at present, Blackrock CEO Larry Fink. I know there's been good news that the ESG investments have been on the wane, but Larry Fink is not at all inhibited by that development. Listen to what he said, sitting next to the Amex CEO, by the way, during the New York Times Deal Book confab about ESG and the attitude he has about what he's pushing. And again, between BlackRock and Vanguard, the leverage they have on most of corporate America.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is, if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay? You have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Forced behaviors, gender and race. You know what that is. I mean, that's all the DIE stuff. Mm-hmm. So for all the encouragement that we've gotten from the reporting that DIE is on the wane and ESG is on the decline, Larry Fink is doubling down. You just heard him. For more on this, Steve Moore, economist and GovZilla author, joins us. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hi, Amy.
So the corporate world can only go so far before they draw the ire of Larry Fink, and he starts to try to impose his will to change behaviors, as you heard him say.
Yeah, that was a strange quote. By the way, it sounded a lot like Stalin. That you have to force people to change their behavior. Is there going to be a 5-year plan? But it's disappointing, too, because in recent months, Larry Fink has kind of pulled back on some of his extreme ESG, climate change dictates, and also on this diversity and equity issue. And yet, every time they take a step forward, they take a step backward. You look at these big firms like Fidelity, and you look at State Street, and you look at BlackRock, and you look at these others. They control trillions and trillions of dollars of assets. So they can command these companies to engage in all sorts of liberal policies with just by their financial might. And I find that deeply disturbing. As you know, earlier this year at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, we graded these firms on how they're voting on things like these proxy votes they take on shareholder resolutions, and like 80 to 90% of the time, they're voting for the extreme left-wing, hostile resolutions against the very companies they own stock in.
Well, so how do you combat the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and the State Streets of the world? How can companies do it?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So when we issued our report back, showing in the Wall Street Journal that 90% of these firms are voting for all these ridiculous things. By the way, that is a violation of their fiduciary duty to their clients. They, if you have an account, let's say in Fidelity or BlackRock, they have a fiduciary duty to provide you the best possible return they can get, right? And they're not doing that because
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you need like shareholder suits? Is that that's what Ramaswamy has proposed, hasn't he?
So I think what we have to do is shame these companies. And so it was really interesting after our report came out. Now there is some good news. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. It is true that a lot of these companies they're voting for fewer of these crazy resolutions that are brought by these left. What happens is, they have these big shareholder meetings, and these, liberal activist groups come in and say, oh, you're not hiring enough blacks or minorities or this or that, or you have to divest in oil and gas companies, even though oil and gas companies in the last 14 months have made more money than virtually any other industry. And so what I'm saying is they're costing retirees in their 401k plans money by playing politics with their pensions. And so people are angry about this and moving. So you ask, what can people do? find out how your investment firm, whether they're engaging in this stuff, and if they are, pull your money out and put it into a company like Dimensional that doesn't play these games.
Okay, that's one way to do it. What about shareholder suits, and particularly maybe some of the the Carl Icahns of the world that really could make an impact? I mean, is there any prospect to that being effective?
I guess so. But these firms are supposedly representing shareholders. That's the point. Shareholder suits against who? What's happening here is that the shareholder organizations are the ones who are forcing upon these companies. Look, the CEOs, for the most part, of these companies, they just want to make money. They don't want to have all these crazy things. You can't buy plastics. You have to have so many gays and blacks and women and on your board and stuff. They're saying, no, we're going to hire the best qualified people we can. We're not going to have quotas. But this is what this DEI stuff is all about. And I do think it's in retreat, though. I do think people are rebelling against it in a positive way.
Speaking of rebelling or revolting or migrating to places that are consistent with your values, to borrow a favorite phrase of the left. This is an interesting chart, and this was a perfect backdrop against last week's debate between DeSantis and Newsom, and maybe DeSantis will mention this in tonight's final debate before the Iowa caucus. This breakdown by region of the 2.1 million Americans who've moved to Florida since the beginning of COVID. 32% came from the Northeast, 32% came from the South, 21% came from
and the rest came from Chicago.
Well, 21% from the Midwest, with Illinois leading the way, yes, from the Midwest,
right.
And 15% from the West. I mean, it just shows you that it's, I know you often say people are moving from California to Houston for the weather, but it's when you have nice weather, yes, but when you have a freedom-oriented governance agenda, boy, you attract people from all over the country.
That's right. And, so it was interesting. Gavin Newsom said, well, not that many people are leaving California for Florida. And that's true, that the migration isn't really into Florida, isn't really mostly from California. Because
it is in the West. It's leading
exactly.
It is in the West part of the region. They're leading the Western states in out-migration to Florida.
That's right. So people are going to Arizona. They're going to, Nevada, which has no income tax. They're going to Montana and so on. So this is a big story. People are leaving. They're voting with their feet against these liberal policies. And you're seeing it, by the way, I was in Chicago a week and a half ago. Things seem to be a little bit better in the downtown area. I don't know, Amy, if I'm just imagining that, but things seem to be a little bit settling down in Chicago. I didn't feel like if I walked down Michigan Ave, I was going to get shot.
Well, I think your judgment is clouded by the Christmas decorations, possibly.
Yes, it was. You're so right. I have to say, can I say that there's no city that has better Christmas decorations than Chicago.
Yeah, that's a calling card. Yeah.
It is, and it really is.
We do this right.
The city looks beautiful at night. But look, I want to make another point, if I may, because this is really important. In the last 3 or 4 days, the Biden administration has made two declarations, Dan and Amy, and these are really important. One is they want to stop building all coal plants in the United States, and they have a plan within the next 6 years to shut down every single coal plant in the United States. That's 30% of our electric power comes from coal plants, and we need coal plants as a backup for the wind and solar plants when they're not working. Second of all, did you see what they're talking about with respect to methane? Now,
but by the way, just on coal, that has some Illinois relevance, as you know, because of Southern Illinois coal. So anyway, but go ahead.
Exactly. Coal. Look, let's be clear about this, folks. The United States of America was built on coal. We have the most coal in the world. It is an important source of electric power production, and we have the cleanest coal in the world. Meanwhile, I think all of your listeners, because you have smart listeners, know that while we're shutting down our coal plants right now this year, China is building 100 new coal plants. So, boy, that's going to do a lot for the climate. But the other thing that's almost more sinister is, did you see that they've declared war on, quote, methane? Now, Dan and Amy, do you know what methane is?
Methane gas.
It's natural gas. It's a fancy term for natural gas. Well, guess what? Natural gas reduces carbon emissions. It doesn't increase carbon emissions. It's the reason the United States has reduced our carbon emissions more than any other country, because we have fracking. We're getting access to all this natural gas. My point is, they want to put natural gas out of business, and they want to put coal out of production. If they do this, this is as serious as a heart attack, folks. They are going to eliminate 60% of America's energy.
Yeah, and then, last we spoke about EVs. NBC Nightly News did a piece where car dealers are saying people can't sell these ones. People are returning their EVs because they want their old cars back. So what are they going to? So they're going to have to mandate that, the government is, to get rid of those vehicles. I mean, they're piling up some. There's even some different rental car places that are not accepting electronic vehicles anymore either.
So there's a big vote. This is another good topic, because there's a vote that may happen today on the House floor to eliminate the Biden administration's obscene AEV mandates, which are going to require in 5 or 6 or 7 years that everybody buy an electric vehicle. Now, I'm not against electric vehicles, but I'm certainly against the government telling me what kind of car I have to buy. I will be quiet. I bet most of your Illinois delegation votes for the Biden mandates, Dan. I bet they all are going to fall right in line with this. You got to give up your car, folks, to save the planet.
Well, sure. I mean, we got 15 Democrats to 3 Republicans, so you'll have 15 votes for it and 3 against it. That's what it'll be.
I mean, but how can Democrats? I mean, this is a free country. This is still America, isn't it? You can't. They're telling you can't buy the kind of car you want.
Sort of. It's still sort of America. That's open for debate. And speaking of which, I mean, we didn't talk to you since last week's DeSantis Newsom debate. What was your takeaway? Did DeSantis do a good job advancing the flag for the red state governance model?
I think he did. I mean, he still, if it were a debate on substance, absolutely DeSantis won. If it was style, I mean, I don't know. I want Amy's. I don't know if you watched any of it.
You have a man crush on Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he is good looking. He's statuesque. I mean, if he was 300 pounds and short, nobody would even care.
Yeah. I do have a man crush on him, and he's he doesn't. Did you notice he doesn't have a hair out of place, and he smiles all the time?
Dan.
Yeah, like Patrick Bateman.
Just let me and Steve have this conversation, okay? No.
Exactly.
But he's slimy because everything out of his mouth was a lie.
He lied.
But
he
he's
lied,
slick, man.
lied.
Oh.
But he's good at it. But he's good at it. You got it.
I mean, he's slimy. Yeah, I mean,
he is. I mean, I actually
eel.
think that I do think that DeSantis did himself a lot of good with that debate. We'll see whether that is. But look, Trump gave that town hall meeting. Look, the guy is got his game face on. He's very relaxed. He's calm. He's talking common sense, and I just still think he's going to be tough to beat.
I just loved yesterday when he said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day. I'm going to close the border. That's my one-day dictatorship. I'm like, bingo. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's just the reaction to Biden's craziness. And it really is coming down to, what Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, a year ago. Do you want craziness or do you want common sense?
Steve Moore, economist and Govzilla author. Thanks, Steve.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Oh. You know what, Dan? I'm going to have you read one of these. One of these pajamagrams.
I don't want to mean to be a downer, but we do need to report that just came over the wire that Norman Lear died at the age of 101. Now, he was a lefty clown, People for the American Way founder, but
he
Jefferson's All in the Family. You can't argue with those sitcoms.
No, rest in peace. I think maybe he was going to get a pajamagram.
Oh,
even if you're 100, you could still get the pajamagram. It's never too late to have a little kitty fun at Christmas time. Okay, so the pajamagram has your back with a deluxe.
Are you saying Norman Lear was a cross-dresser?
No.
Oh.
Giving his loved one.
Oh,
was his wife
sure.
still alive?
I don't.
Who knows?
I'm not sure. I don't want to see anybody in their 90s in a pajamagram, though. But anyway.
Well, we're not excluding anyone. So get the gift this holiday season. It's the Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie and Robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. I think somebody's going to be coming down the Christmas tree, down the chimney for Justin Kosick and his new wife, Bethany. Oh, yeah. It's designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. The Smooth Seduction Satin gift set is your ticket to a very nice winter season. So get it before they run out. The Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie, Robe, Eye Mask, and Keepsake Bag.
Oh, by the way,
I'm
sorry
talking
to interrupt.
over here.
I got to break in here. Lynn Lear, his third wife, I think.
Yeah.
She's only 73. Boy,
So
talk about May, December.
Let's give her a pajamagram.
No.
Go to pajamagram.com, and tell them Dan and Amy sent you.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I do.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll get reaction from Helen Raleigh from thefederalist.com to yesterday's testimony from Ivy League college presidents at 8:08.
And hear from that University of Pennsylvania student who's Jewish, who's been quite through an ordeal. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
The state stops building on the Brighton Park migrant camp. Man falls to his death from a Streeterville parking garage. Combined North Shore and Edward Elmhurst health systems have been renamed. Top 10 college hoops win for the Illini, and the Blackhawks fall to the Preds in a shootout. WIND Chicago News.